so excited that you're watching today with Marilyn and Sarah. And I was praying about our time together. God dropped a verse in my heart that I want to share with you to encourage you. And it's from Ephesians 1:17. And this is Paul. And he says, I'm praying that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ would give you a spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of Him. And that's my prayer for you today, that you would know God better than you did yesterday, last year, last month, that you would increasingly know God more and more and more and more. Because in my heart, I know this, the more we know God, the better life works. It just does. When we try to do life without God and without integrating and knowing God in our lives, oh my goodness, things just get really chaotic and destructive very fast. So we'd love for you to get closer in your walk with God and let God work some of that stuff out, some of the details and some of the hot spots, let Him help you with that stuff. So hop on the phone, get on the website. We would love to pray for you that you would know God better and better, more and more. And Mom, Jesus says that in Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added to you.
Right.
Sometimes we go after all these things and accessorize with the kingdom, with God.
Right.
You know, God's the accessory, but this is the main priority. And Jesus says you're supposed to flip that. For God first, and everything else falls into place.
And I do it daily because it's so important. If you start in the morning with God, your day will go better. We are really excited about something. Share where we're going.
Right, so we're taking a group trip, Mom, and of course we want every person watching to join us on this trip. We're going to Argentina. Yes. And Argentina is a very fascinating country. It's in South America. It's adjacent a little bit south of Brazil. It's an amazing place, just with a vast history of interesting inputs and peoples and all kinds of stuff. But Mom, it has a really interesting history as it relates to Christianity, especially recent history. And you know a little bit more of that, because I remember you've told me over time about various things, spiritual things, that have happened in Argentina. Have you been there before?
No, this will be my first time. I'm excited about it. Buenos Aires is called the Paris of South America, Central and South America. But if you look back in the history, President Perón was very in connection with Germany. And so a lot of the German leaders in those terrible camps found refuge there. And in this timing, Wally and I, my husband, and I met a man named Tommy Hicks. And he was a little small man, not tall, small bone, very thin. And he said, God has told me to go to Buenos Aires and have a meeting, a healing meeting in the stadium. Well, such a thing had never been done. And so, it really sounded far out. And so God has told me to do it. Well, then he came back and told us what happened. So he went to President Perón to the palace to say, I need the stadium. Can't you know that President Perón was just waiting for him and he couldn't get in? And so the man at the gate said, well, why do you want a meeting in the stadium? He said, because I want to pray for the sick. He said, well, if you're so good at that, pray for me. And this man had terrible eczema and God healed him. So Tommy Hicks began to visit the man, got into President Perón, who had just lost his wife, Evita, who had led the nation into witchcraft. And he liked Tommy. Tommy prayed for him and he was healed. And he gave him the stadium for a month. And it was on the news here. I remember seeing it on secular news. Thousands of people every night streaming in and out, not even knowing who would be speaking. And from that time on, Argentina has had very unusual revival. I mean, it's still going like that. So just remember, when you go with us, honey, we're going into a hot revival.
Right, and I know that people watching right now, they want to know, well, what are some of the details? And of course, you can hop on the phone or get on the website for details. You can call and get a brochure, but we want you to come with us. And Mom, when we're in Argentina, our group trips that we take are really, really fascinating. And they're fun and they're amazing, because it's not just that we go and see sites, and we do some of the tourist stuff for sure. Because, I mean,
it's wonderful.
We're going to Buenos Aires, plus we'll have a short excursion to Uruguay. But, I mean, seeing some of this stuff really takes your breath away. But I think the high point for all of our group trips is the ministry times that we get to join what God's already doing in these countries. So talk a little bit about what we get to do in Argentina.
Well, in Argentina, we will be praying for the sick and praying for people, and that will be a very important time, because if only Sarah and I went, we would only have 4 hands. But when you take a whole team of people, and we'd like to have 150, we'd like to have you have 152 hands to lay on people, and that's what we will be doing. And probably one of the most exciting churches in the world today, this is Pastor Friesen, who walks and moves in the miraculous. So who knows what's going to happen to us and through us in that time. I believe it will be the most dynamic trip we've ever had. Now we will see, we're going to go to a gaucho ranch, we're going to do some special things like that. But folks, the big thing will be God using you. And we have that every time. Some of the greatest miracles I've ever seen, and I've done 55 of these trips. Let me tell you, some of the greatest miracles I've ever seen have come through the group with me. It has come through their hands. You just cannot miss. We need you to go. We need you to call in today. And you say, I don't have any money. Well, we want to put your name on a hit list and pray for you, that God will make a way for you to go with us.
And you know, Mom, we're in just a minute or so, we're going to lead into a really cool video that shows the trip we just had recently, group trip, where we went to Brazil. And to see some of the amazing things from our group trip that happened during that experience. So we want to encourage you, hop on the phone, get on the website. You really need to get the brochure, you need to get the information, because God really has a plan for you with this. And I love what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 16, verse 9. He says, an effectual door for ministry is open for me. And I believe for you today, that God is speaking to you saying, an effectual door for ministry is open for you today. And you may watch and say, well, I can't go because of money or because of getting time off of work or family responsibilities, all these things. But hop on the phone, get on the website. We want to pray for you that God would make a way and God would open the doors and give you the finances, the time, etc., all the resources that you need, that God would make a way for that open door, for you to walk through that open door. And like I said, you're going to see here in just a minute, it's a really cool video, some stuff that we did just recently in Brazil with our group trip. And when you see this, I know it will stir in your heart to say, oh my goodness, this is just regular people doing supernatural stuff, natural people doing the supernatural because of God's presence on our life. So watch this now, and as you're watching, remember, you want to call for your brochure, get on the website, because we want you to come with us to Argentina.
In 2013, Marilyn Hickey and a team traveled to Iguazu, Brazil, where she ministered a powerful word, and many were saved and experienced miraculous physical healings. On the first day of the trip, Marilyn and travelers enjoyed a scenic tour and were able to see some of Brazil's wildlife. Marilyn and the travelers also took a tour of the newest natural wonder of the world, the Iguazu waterfalls, located right on the border of Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay. The breathtaking falls are arranged in a way that appears like the letter J. The travelers took a relaxing boat ride at the bottom of the falls and were able to capture the views of the falls that stretched out. Marilyn held the Iguazu healing meeting at a local church called Comunidade Evangélica Internacional, Zunu Zul. Marilyn preached her poignant message assisted by a translator. Many in attendance raised their hands up and responded to the call for prayer. Several of the travelers and ministry leaders ministered to people on an individual basis, laying hands on the sick and ministering to people in their seats. Many were filled with the presence of God and received emotional and physical healing. One woman stood before the congregation and testified that a tumor on the roof of her mouth had reduced in size after she was prayed for. Those gathered praised God and cheered for the miracles that were taking place. The following morning, the group traveled to Rio de Janeiro, where they were ministered to by Sarah Bowling, who taught a message on faith. Travelers boarded the tour bus to visit Cavado Mountain, where the famous statue of Christ stands. The people traveled up flights of stairs to worship with a street band led by young, excited worshipers. The leaders passed out gifts for the children gathered. The team went into the house of a woman and ministered to her in prayer before leaving to their next adventure. Another healing meeting was held in Rio where 2,000 people gathered in worship. The anticipation was high and people responded by raising their hands in worship.
I want all of our team to stand up.
Gostaria que o nosso grupo se levantasse.
And they are here also to lay hands on you.
E eles estão aqui também para orar por você.
Team leaders laid hands and prayed over people, and everyone was ministered to. Many responded to altar calls and received what God had for them. Several people went to the stage to share their testimonies of backs, wrists, tumors, and warts being healed. One man who had walked in with a cane dropped the cane and walked across the stage, showing that he'd been healed physically. The crowd was energized by the testimonies and tangible presence of God.
Quem a curou?
Jesus!
Jesus?
Who prayed for her?
Quem orou por ela?
We did!
Nós oramos.
The travelers later visited a nursing home in Rio, where they laid hands on the sick and prayed for healing for numerous patients. They even celebrated the birthday of 2 of the residents and presented them with special gifts. Thank you, partners and supporters, for helping to make trips like this possible.
Join Marilyn and Sarah May 4th to the 13th as they minister on the Seeing Jesus in Argentina and Uruguay group tour. Travelers will minister with Marilyn and Sarah at Iglesia Rey de Reyes Church in Buenos Aires. Participate in humanitarian outreach. Visit Plaza de Mayo and Palacio del Congreso. Take a ferry to Uruguay for a day tour of Colonia, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and visit a gaucho ranch for the day. For more information, visit marilylandsarah.org. Join Marilyn and Sarah May 4th to the 13th as they minister on the Seeing Jesus in Argentina and Uruguay group tour. Travelers will minister with Marilyn and Sarah at Iglesia Rey de Reyes Church in Buenos Aires. Participate in humanitarian outreach. Visit Plaza de Mayo and Palacio del Congreso. Take a ferry to Uruguay for a day tour of Colonia, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and visit a gaucho ranch for the day. For more information, visit marilylandsarah.org.
These trips are always absolutely amazing, and seeing the things that happened in Brazil just stirs up my memories and brings back fond recollections of experiences for our travelers really throughout the world. So please make sure you get on the phone, get on the website. We want you to come with us to Argentina, and again for that excursion to Uruguay. And remember, we'll be doing city tours in Buenos Aires. We'll go to the town of Tigre. It's a really exotic town location. And then, of course, we'll be ministering in Pastor Claudio Friesen's church at the beginning of May. It's going to be a really powerful experience, and powerful not just for the tourist part, but more so for the part of God really working not only on and in you, but also through you as well. And Mom, when we watch videos from, some of our past trips and stuff, and you see some of the people that minister. Remember some of the testimonies of some of our travelers, just regular people, and how God has ministered and worked not only on them, but also through them. Tell about one of those.
Well, one of ours who's gone with us maybe 5 or 6 times had cancer in her throat. And so it was a very serious thing. She's a partner to the ministry. And they said, it's so large, and they felt it was malignant, and they wanted to take it out. And so we all prayed, she submitted it to God. And while she was on the operating table, she had a dream that an angel came and took that growth. Well, when they were finished with the operation, they said, well, we don't know what happened, but the growth is gone. So that's very exciting to her. And so, when you receive a miracle, you want to give miracles. So in our last trip, I saw God use her in the most unusual way, because we have people come forward for healing, and we had all of our group, we had 130, so we had 130 pairs of hands. And so 2 women came to her with growths. And both of them, I think they were related, I don't think they were just friends, had them on their back. And so she prayed for them, she felt she had great faith. And so as we're getting ready to leave, because she was praying for other people, these 2 women are waiting at the door. They've just come out of the women's restroom, and they said the growths are gone. Now, what do you think that did to her? Oh, at the next place, she's ripping the place apart, because she's looking for people with growths to pray for. But Sarah, there's another one in Indonesia, in Jakarta, I want to share. And this one was a wheelchair testimony. So we had this partner who went with us a lot on trips, and she said, Lord, I've never prayed for anyone in a wheelchair, because we see people coming out of wheelchairs. So she said, I would like to see somebody come out of a wheelchair. Well, she's standing there, and somebody came up with a man in a wheelchair. I mean, his mind is gone. I mean, he is totally out of it. And he had had a stroke, and his family are there. And she said, oh, God, not this one. This is too hard. Well, what's too hard for God? So she prayed. That man regained his consciousness and actually got out of the wheelchair and walked. And he walked out of that stadium, and his relatives, I don't know who all the relatives were pushing the wheelchair behind him, because one of our people had prayed, God, I want to see somebody come out of a wheelchair. But Sarah, I saw some crazy ones in Russia, especially when the door first opened. I remember we went to the Ukraine as well as to Moscow, St. Petersburg. And so here we are with these people coming up. And remember, they've been 70 years under communism. So Bible, how do you spell it? Jesus, who is he? And of course they're Orthodox, so they had a little knowledge, but not much. And so these people had gone into witchcraft and demonism, a lot of them. So we had a lot of demon-possessed people. And so, you're thinking, oh my, is this going to frighten our team? But our team just took them on. And I remember one woman in particular, she would take these demon-possessed people and hold them close to her and cast the demons out. We had so much success. Another one I remember prayed for a woman who was very crippled in her knees, and she had a cane, and I saw that woman as we were leaving on our buses dancing with her cane. Wow. And so, this can be the greatest miracle time of your life. So get on the phone, get on our website. Sarah and I really want you to go with us, because we want God to use you.
Right. And Mom, when we go on these trips, we don't put people in kind of roach coach hotels and, feed you a cup of noodles, soup kind of wannabe stuff. The accommodations are very nice. Yes. The food is always very good. Right. The fellowship, and that's the other thing I think is so powerful on these trips, is the fellowship that happens within the team, as well as the ministry that goes on through the team. And when we're on these trips, we get to teach the travelers, we have morning prayer time. time and teaching times, worship times. So it's really an experience with Jesus. And it's a very, very high peak experience with Jesus. So I just encourage you, hop on the phone, get on the website, and really say, yeah, God, help me to go on this trip. Help me no matter, and sometimes you think, well, there's lots of obstacles in your mind. You kind of think, well, I can't do that because, work, and we think about obstacles. And rather than thinking about obstacles, I would encourage you to think about possibilities. That when you think about going on the trip, instead of saying, well, I can't because of X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, those are not obstacles, they're possibilities. Possibilities for God to do supernatural stuff to help you to go, but also supernatural stuff through you as well. So hop on the phone, get on the website. And Argentina, I don't think, Mom, we've never taken a group trip to Argentina before.
We haven't.
And it's going to be a really powerful
it's
experience.
It's a hot spot in the world today.
Right, right. And there's already lots of great, amazing revival stuff happening there. And so we just kind of jump into what's already flaming and burning strong with the Holy Spirit moving in that country. So hop on the phone, get on the website. We want you to come with us. We want you to come with us, A, for you to experience Argentina, B, for you to have the presence of God help you and work in your life, but C, for God to work through you as well, that other people are on the other side waiting for the miracles that God has for them and God wants to bring even possibly through you. So I just remind you of the verse, 1 Corinthians 16, verse 9. It says, an effectual door for ministry is opened to me. And I pray today that God would help you to walk through that door. Not for you to look and say, oh, I can't because of these things, or that's just a Marilyn and Sarah thingy, and they do that deal twice a year and blow it off. But rather that you would listen and high grade the voice of God in your heart and say, yeah, I want to walk and stay in step with you. As you open the door for me, God, I'll walk through the doors that you open, and then being obedient and trusting God to bring the resources, to bring the time, to make the connections, to help you. And some of you watching, you're like, I've never traveled overseas before. That's just scary. Well, let's conquer fear and really celebrate God's victory and success in your life and come on this trip. So hop on the phone, get on the website. We want you to come with us today.
I had a wonderful opportunity to travel with Marilyn and Sarah on one of their group trips recently, and I just want to encourage you to consider coming along with them.
The biggest benefit is being able to minister to people. Even though the trips provide a lot of opportunity to see the land, to be able to minister to the people is really wonderful.
And then you have the opportunity to go into the places where you're going to be ministering, and you lay hands on the sick, you pray for people, you see miracles and healings and great moves of God, and it's just beyond what you could have expected or imagined.
Group trips provide, first of all, they provide a wonderful opportunity to see parts of the world that you probably never would see on your own. And the way that they're planned, all you have to do is have passport will travel. Everything is planned for you, so you don't have to worry about adding extra money for tips and things like that because it's so well laid out.
The ministry does an excellent job of making sure that you have the opportunity to minister to people as you're traveling through these countries and also to see the sights of the country. It's a perfect mix. There's something for everyone.
So the relationships that you build are just, they're lifelong and they're really a treasure.
We had a wonderful time as far as sightseeing goes, but the richness of ministry and the richness of camaraderie with your brothers and sisters in the Lord is something that is very unusual and beautiful, and I would really encourage all of you to take an opportunity and travel with Marilyn and Sarah. Go on these group tours and see how God will use you.
Join Marilyn and Sarah May 4th to the 13th as they minister on the Seeing Jesus in Argentina and Uruguay group tour. Travelers will minister with Marilyn and Sarah at Iglesia Rey de Reyes Church in Buenos Aires. Participate in humanitarian outreach. Visit Plaza de Mayo and Palacio del Congreso. Take a ferry to Uruguay for a day tour of Colonia, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and visit a gaucho ranch for the day. For more information, visit MarilynandSarah.org.
most exciting, maybe I could say the most exciting thing in my life is that I have been able to go to 128 countries. Oh, that is awesome to me, but there are a lot more to go to. But I would say the second thing that has been so exciting is that I have taken over 55 teams of people all around the world. To China, can you imagine? Oh, China is so wonderful. To South America, to Brazil. You know, we have gone to places in Russia that probably you've never even heard of. But that's exciting to me because it transforms a life. It really transforms a life when you get out and minister in these other nations. And that's my purpose. And I believe everyone needs to experience a trip overseas of ministry. You need to go with us.
Right, and Mom, I know when people watch and they hear us talk about these trips, they kind of like, oh, you know, that's not for me, that's, you know, I'm scared of this, or I never have the finances, and lots of things that we come up with. It's not good timing, maybe down the road, but I want to encourage you. We want to pray for you today that God would help you to really go on some of these trips with us, that it wouldn't just be kind of pie in the sky, oh, you know, it'll never happen, but really that God would help you and enable you with the time, with the resources, the finances, all the logistical stuff, that God would really help and provide all those things. So hop on the phone, get on the website. We want to pray for you, that God would give you the power, the resources, the support, all the things you need to go, because I know that as you go on these trips, that God absolutely revolutionizes your life. Things that you saw here that were kind of seemingly hopeless, God suddenly says, nope, nothing's impossible for me. And for this trip and all the trips that we do, nothing is impossible for God.
Join Marilyn and Sarah May 4th to the 13th as they minister on the Seeing Jesus in Argentina and Uruguay group tour. Travelers will minister with Marilyn and Sarah at Iglesia Rey de Reyes Church in Buenos Aires. Participate in humanitarian outreach. Visit Plaza de Mayo and Palacio del Congreso. Take a ferry to Uruguay for a day tour of Colonia, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and visit a gaucho ranch for the day. For more information, visit MarilynandSarah.org.